guide us through this insightful session, please join me in welcoming Dr. G. Rajesh. Dr. Rajesh is a passionate professor of economics and co-program head of PGDM International Business at Institute of Public Enterprise. As a voracious reader and ardent researcher, Dr. Rajesh brings a wealth of knowledge to this topic. Without any ado, let us listen from Rajesh.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Danny. Title of that. So you must be wondering then what is the capitalism and all. This is what the is created that it is a private sector which returns back into gold. With the private sector, keep on doing that. It will manage industries, but it will be governed through a system of licenses. What happened? Right, license Raj. India was very ruled as license Raj. If you read a book which is very much there in our library, India Unbound by Guru Charan Das. India Unbound by Guru Charan Das. Then you will understand how we made our license Raj. We controlled the private sector. You name anything. Watch. There was a public sector undertaking, HMT, that vanished. You have to stand 2 years in queue. Yes, your generation is very lucky. It has not seen those days of shortages. You were born during the time. Then economies liberalized. My generation to some extent, and more than that, my previous generations. They have seen those shortages. So HMT watch took 2 years. You had to look. And in one of the articles, I still remember, last year I read, I'm not able to recollect the title of that article. HMT watch was a big dowry item. Okay, so when boys' parents demanded HMT watch, okay, a poor girl parent, okay, fine, they had to book it. But 2 years, how to do? Scooter, long wait. You have to book Bajaj, Vespa, they were there. Not the stanky bikes and all, Harley Davidson and all that kind of thing. You are lucky, you are born during that time. So, minimum choices of goods and services. Whether the food that you ate or whether the car also need to. Fiat and Ambassador. There was a joke that every part of the car except horn makes a sound. Okay, so that is how they made the shoddy products produced by the public sector undertakings at that time. Even car. Right? Then we throttled the private sector so much, the economy was not performing. Then came the big year 1991. India was on the verge of becoming bankrupt country. It had 15 days of foreign exchange. You always need foreign exchange. having good foreign exchange is a sign of foreign exchange reserves, is a sign of healthy economy. So you had foreign exchange enough to cover 2 weeks of your short-term liabilities. So we had to knock the doors of world's biggest money lender, World Bank. And World Bank said, look here, now you have to liberalize your economy. This kind of government control won't help. Liberalize every sector of your economy. So name anything, and it came under the ambit of reforms, famously called as economic reforms. Now they are called as first generation of reforms. First generation, second generation, now third generation of reforms going. First generation is say from 1991 to 2005 or something like that, although there is no state. And after 2005 and then till 2018, 19, second generation, and then on now, third generation of it. So you name anything, your direct, indirect taxes came under economic reforms, industry came under economic reforms. You had to reduce the tax rates because Indian indirect taxes were considered as very high. No foreigner came to get it. They said infrastructure fully lacking in India. Because you open the door to the foreigners, is it enough? Foreigners say, your communications, your roads, the highways, your electricity, everything needs reforms. Then only we will come. That is how you reform power sector, every other sector. Phone, telecom, and as a landline used to have. If you see old movies of 60s and 70s, you will see that phone ringing, and even for local call, you had to shout at the top of your voice. If you had to book a call to your relative or friend outside your city, then there was something called trunk call. You book it down, and after 2-3 hours, you will get the call. So that's how. Now you have cell phone in your hand. So that's a product of liberalization and all. Now, right from the food that you eat, this kind of hotels, this kind of nothing, everything was like whatever you have. My choice. Flight also was state control. Only Indian Airlines you had. At that time, Indian Airlines. Now you have right choice for the flight that you travel. Gurucharan Das, that the Indian law, in that there is one sentence, he said, if I had to diversify my product line, suppose I am manufacturing this, okay, and now I want to manufacture this also. Okay, so that means what? I am trying to diversify my product line. How will I diversify my product line? I have to go to central, I have to go to Delhi to take permission from the concerned department. Now, urgently, I have to go. I have to go in a flight. I have to go urgently. But flight choice, there are hardly 1 or 2 flights a day, and only one entity managing that or going there. So how will I go? That is what Gurucharan does. His father, in fact, once told Jawaharlal Nehru, look here, sir, even public sector undertakings need to earn profit. Even public sector undertakings. What are public sector undertakings? PSUs, they are called as those managed by the government. Even public sector undertakings need to earn profits. Then Nehru got very angry and furious. He said, profit is a dirty word. Do not talk that. Do not talk about that to me. So that is how we manage the PSUs. We forgot that they are also commercial entities. The the basic principles of commercial entities we have to follow. That we should earn profit, if not at least cover our costs. So PSUs became a big burden on the exchequer over the years. But all that changed, okay. So Indian economy traveled a long way from being a closed economy to an open economy. What we call it as market economy. Market economy is what? It's an economy in which the forces of demand and supply will determine the price. The demand and supply forces will fight with each other. And that itself determines the price of a product. Freely determined pricing, not artificially controlled by the government, which is not based on sound economic principles. Remember one thing, what is good in politics is never good in economics. But even now, old habits die hard. Still somewhere, that will be there. You will come. So this is what is now remember. Okay, what is that? Now today's paper, suddenly we are talking that capitalism has not worked. It has promoted inequalities. That is what is it. But that author today, Swaminathan, is the author of that editorial. Lothar Schumpeter said, Lothar Schumpeter, Schumpeter is an economist who talked about, who coined the term creative destruction. Destruction, but creating. So he said capitalism is a creative destruction. So Swaminathan is supporting that, saying that don't say capitalism has not. It has worked. Taking India says economic reforms. Well, it is there. I will tell you in the last slide what still needs to be done. Inequalities, yes, poverty is still there. But much more better off than what we did in your generation. When I was of your age or little younger than that also, planning to go to an hotel was a big program. Very difficult. Might have design in that the big program. When the movie was. Movie also. It's sad. These are other points of the PGP. Okay. My son every other day is of your generation only 1 year senior to you. So every after 2 days, the Domino's pizza, Domino's, as in the Domino's person has become a family member. Okay. So like that you have. Hello. Okay, so 500 in one look is over how our disposable incomes have increased. Disposable income is what? Income in our hand that we are ready to spend or save or that is disposable income. But term usual term. We have become much better off. We have such wide choice of goods and services. Why is that? All the on a Saturday, Sunday, I have of course experienced. You go and see or on other days also. Every eating place, by whatever name you call, a street vendor selling a chaat or a 5-star hotel is chock and block with people. Why has that happened? So That was not such a thing. So, yes, much better off. Your domestic help also has a very good cell phone with her. That's all. So to say capitalism involved and then okay should state intervention come back is not advisable, at least. My opinion, Indian state. Even our Prime Minister recently said before these elections, that business of the government is not to be in business. Okay. Okay, economics. How do you define economics? From that economics, this is one standard definition which I like. Economics, Robinson, economics science and studying the relation have made it simple. Ends and scales means. That is the problem. Scales means you have ends. That is what you want to achieve. You want to buy a cloth. Okay, yes, that is your idea. You want to go to a movie, that is that. You want to go to a hotel, that is that. So many ends are there. But the means to satisfy them are scales. That is the money in your hand, is scales. So that is the constant fight to adjust those ends and scales needs. That's why economics is there. Otherwise, economics would not have been. Right from you, what you are doing at the individual level, to what at the macro level finance minister does. Very soon she will announce the budget. What she is doing, adjusting the ends and scales means. What is budget of? You are adjusting your ends with your scales. The scales, what is the scales? Is there any number attached to that? 1 lakh is scales or 1 million is scales. Okay, so for a person like me, 1 lakh may be a big amount. Okay, for Ambani, it's about 1 lakh too. Okay, that's all, nothing. Okay, it will just fall out from this one. So, scales differs from person to person. So, there is no number attached. All that it means that when compared to NCO needs are scales. Micro and macro. What you have in your first trimester, the title is Economics for Managers. Economics for Managers is microeconomics. That means economics at the level of an individual like you and me, of a company, of a firm. We discuss about demand, supply, we discuss about various types of markets. Those who are commerce graduates already have some idea about that. That is micro. But macro is overall study of the economy as a whole. When you are studying about concepts such as economic growth, monetary policy, fiscal policy, the budget is the part of fiscal policy, I will tell you. So that is microeconomics. Then you have the second class. But the problem is, what you are going to study in second trimester, macroeconomics, most of it is found in newspaper. But you will have to wait in second trimester to understand what it is. Especially non-commerce graduate, then you will be getting impression of, okay, macro, what is this at all? So to ease that, I am giving you a brief idea on that. In second trimester, you will learn more. Because this is what in newspaper. I am telling you to read the newspaper. You will come across the terms such as GDP, monetary policy, fiscal policy. How will you know that? Well, you have to know something. The most important macroeconomic figure, GDP, gross domestic products. What is famously known as economic growth. India has grown by X%. World Bank projects that India will grow by 7.6%. What is that? That is this figure, gross domestic product, GDP. In one sentence, if you have to tell, a very rudimentary definition, a layman's, it is the value of goods and services produced in an economy during a period of time. Value of goods and services produced in an economy during a period of time is what is gross domestic. During a period of time is usually 1 year. But what does this GDP consist of? Value of goods and services produced in an economy means what? What does it consist of? This is a famous C plus I plus G plus X minus M. C, consumer goods. The value of consumer goods. Consumer goods are the goods that which you use for your final consumption. This shirt is a consumer good. This shoe is a consumer good. That bag is a consumer good. It's for your final consumption. But how is this shirt made? How is this shoe made? How is that bag made? You need plant and machinery, you need tools and equipment, you need a land to produce that. These are called as capital goods. Capital goods produce consumer goods. So I is investment made in capital goods. We consumers consume. But you need people to produce this. The businesses. So they invest in capital goods, plant and machinery. So they invest, you consume. G, government expenditure. Government has a big responsibility. Construction of roads, bridges, other infrastructure, welfare programs, whatever is it, so that is G. X minus L, exports minus imports, which is called as net exports. This all adds up to your GDP. There is something called GLP also, no need that each second trimester unit. Right now, this is essential. So economic growth is nothing but the rise in GDP, the gross domestic product, which consists of what? The consumer goods, that is the goods consumed by you and me as consumer, investment in capital goods, because capital goods are required to make the consumer goods, otherwise you can't. G, government expenditure, X minus M, exports minus imports, which is the net exports. That is what is GDP. So country's prosperity is measured on GDP. Although there is a debate which is again in second trimester you will discuss your faculty. Is GDP necessarily a measure of well-being? Okay. So at what cost is the GDP is coming? You are producing goods, but it is causing pollution, all sorts of pollution, damaging the environment. Do we need such a GDP? Well, there isn't. All your family members are working. GDP will rise, but you are not getting time to talk to each other. There is no quality of life. Do we need such a GDP? Okay, so these are all the things. That's why another measure as a gross national happiness. G and H. So they say G and H is a better, but that is only meant for goods. Okay, ultimately, only GDP will. Okay, India is the fifth largest economy. How did you measure it? Fifth largest, and we have a target to become third largest in 2-3 years. How did we measure that? We put behind UK, and we have become now fifth largest. In 2013, we were in fragile 5. Fragile 5 means what? Anytime break, fragile. Fragile 5 to now big 5. Within a day. So how did that happen? Oh, GDP, the prosperity. So you are looked upon that. So GDP only gives you respect. Finally. Okay. Monetary and fiscal policy, very quickly. Monetary related to money. Who manages that? Who manages that? RBI. Every country has a central bank. Our central bank is RBI. Which is the Central Bank of America? Can anyone tell me?
Federal.
Reserve Bank of America.
Federal.
Federal Bank. Federal Reserve is called as Federal Reserve. Okay. European Central Bank, ECB, Japan, Bank of Japan. So there are central banks. They manage that monetary policy, very important. It is in their hand. You know what is called as repo rate. You will come across this term repo rate. Okay, repo rate is going to be increased by this percent and decreased by, it is the rate at which RBI lends to other banks. That itself determines the rate at which RBI will give loan to you and me as consumer and to them as investors. Investment made in capital goods. So repo rate, again you will learn in second trimester. But this is all you want to make it easy. Then you will read newspapers. Okay, very otherwise you bet what are these terms we know. Okay, wait till second trimester, which will start in October. Okay, but before that, so monetary policy, repo rate is the famous rate at which commercial banks borrow from RBI, or in other words, RBI lends for short-term purposes. Okay, so that determines that what as rates, interest rate, that determines how much consumers can buy. Because consumers need to buy goods and services. How will GDP increase? Consumers have to become. What happened during COVID? Our incomes fell, so there was less demand. C was not there. C was not functioning. That extra shirt, that extra trouser, that extra shoes, I was not able to put it because I did not have income in my hand. So what did the businesses say? What did the I say? Investment made in capital goods because they are not consuming. We are not producing. So GDP coming down, prosperity comes down. So when interest rates are loosened, that is repo rate, then there is more consumption we expect, more investment GDP will do. But at times it has to be tightened. That is, the repo rate has to be increased when it is tightened. Repo rate has to be decreased when it is loosened. When will the central bank tighten it? During the time of inflation. Inflation in rise in prices, in a simple language. Or you say fall in purchasing power. With 10 rupees, I was able to take 10 units. Now I am able to take only 8 units with the same 10 units. So that is fall in purchasing power. So when inflation is rising, at that time, monetary policy will be tightened. That means repo rate will increase. When growth has to be pushed, GDP, then it will be loose. Or sometimes it will be status quo. The present repo rate is 6.5%. So monetary policy is the policy of the central bank of the country, but there is other side. Fiscal policy. Fisc. Fisc means purse. The purse that you have in your pocket. What do? You have to manage your purse properly. You are always worried, okay, my expenditure I have to control this month. Okay, my income is not increasing, or I will try to increase my income. I will apply somewhere else. You are doing all that. Like that, the government is doing at the macro level. The budget which is going to be announced is for this fiscal policy. That means policy in simple words again. Policy related to public revenue and public expenditure. The finance minister is thinking, oh my God, what should I do? Should the taxes be increased or not? How much should be allocated to health? How much should be allocated to education? What should be the subsidies? All that comes under fiscal policy. Of course, many times there is a clash. Monetary and fiscal policy, that's a different thing. You will learn later on. So always the central bank head and finance minister's relationship more often is like mother-in-law daughter. Okay, so always full of friction. Okay, but they pull out. Okay, because they have to pull out. More, but of course, in a country like America, the central bank head, who is called as Federal Reserve Chairman, is the second most powerful person after the American president. But here, still we have that. So you know what it is. Who is the governor of RBI?
Shaktikant.
Someone said Shaktikant Das? Okay. Right. So if the largest economy, what is the present scenario where we talk about certain things? Some very good initiatives that the government has launched. One is the National Infrastructure Pipeline. One thing, India and China always compared. Like in your school, your teacher many times compared with your hey, look, Rajesh, Karthik is prepared, such a good boy, he has scored such high marks, and look at him. Okay, so like that. So India and China very often compare. Chinese economy. Okay, China's infrastructure is so strong, robust. So India compares poorly with its infrastructure very often. Now, of course, China has its own problems. It has created such a huge infrastructure, but there is no one to consume that much. Okay. But it is the infrastructure marvel. Very often you will come across articles. Why China went so ahead? Why did it surge so ahead of India? India began in 1991, China began in 1979. Okay, fine. 10 years earlier, but 10 years earlier is not such a big thing also. 11 years earlier. Then Xiaopeng, famous name, architect of Chinese reforms. Ours was Manmohan Singh, P.V. Narasimha Rao. Okay, so then Xiaopeng, the architect. So why did it happen? Very often the articles talk about the Chinese autocracy. In China, there is autocracy, not the kind of democracy that we have here. That itself made it prosperous. If a hydro dam had to be constructed in China, in India, there will be a problem. Environmentalists, social activists, they will protest a lot. See? But in China, with one strike, there won't be any opposition. It also followed capitalism without sacrifice, without discussing with its autocratic. Then, if you criticize the head of the government, somewhere you will disappear. Okay, not like here. Chowkidar Chor, Maisarshur, Ravan, Kasinari Kakida, Mokka, Saudagar, this and this goes on. Okay, so that is very easy. You can write a very good article criticizing the government, but there, even a Delhi criticism, if you do, Jack Ma, what was found out? Yeah, there's a company called Alibaba. So he just made some Delhi criticism. Delhi criticism. But somewhere he disappeared for many years or months. Okay, and then he surfaced back. Now he's teaching in some B school. That's what it is. They say it's autocratic. Sometimes India's democracy itself was the reason. But that that doesn't mean that India should, ours is the largest democracy and we should be proud of it. Okay, China was able to manage okay, fine. Okay, so that is not possible for a country like us. Okay, which strongly believes in democratic values, and it should continue to be. So we have certain things, national infrastructure pipeline to make our infrastructure robust. Gati Shakti. Gati is what? Speed. One other criticism against India is India's logistics. You have a subject when you go to second year in electives, logistics. Very good subject. You get good jobs in logistics jobs if you take operations as your elective in second year. So India's system is okay, it's logistic, very slow. I want to move. Okay, I'm going to school, I want to quickly go from this place to that place. So much of procedure, fast different. So we said Gati Shakti plan. Integrating Gati Shakti is a multimodal, integrating so many things, railways, roadways, waterways. So many things are connected. The gas pipelines. Something needs to be transferred from railways, something from roads. All this, how will I connect? Suppose if I have to transfer that, some part by railways, some part by road, some part by waterways. Long time it will take. India in the logistic index prepared by World Bank, if I'm not wrong, India is ranked 126th or so. Very bad. Okay, so they say how India is ranked on this list. So we don't want that. So that's why we want Gati Shakti. Now, Gati fast. Connect this and that, and everything will reach fast. Asset monetization program, very important. You should know, read four, 5 sentences about it. Enough. Asset monetization. There are huge tracts of land, with government, with say railways, with airline, and so many other places. They are lying unused. Why should they be lying unused? You are not making any use of that. It is not sound economics. So what will we do? We said such lands will be given to private sector. They will develop it. Some economic activity will be carried on, then handed over to the government. So private sector will pay for it. Asset monetization. Very important role. So you are monetizing those assets which you are not using it, and then you will use that money for your welfare. Then Gati Shakti, that's what multi-modal plan to bring 16 ministries together. And this one is the mother of all programs. Atmanirbhar Bharat. Self-reliance. Atmanirbhar. So let me become so self-reliant in what happened during COVID. China, economies were dependent on China. Lots. For also for electronic components. And API. What is API? ACAPS, PCAPS. We'll tell you API. Active pharmaceutical ingredients. Active pharmaceutical ingredients. So certain things which we need in our important drugs. China was the one which was making. COVID disrupted everything. We depended on China so much that so people started thinking China plus one now onwards. So there is a debate. Is India zeroed in on by the countries? Are the countries looking towards India as China plus one? That plus one is India. Is it so? There is a debate. Because a small country is giving us some content. Vietnam. It has businesses are more being set up there. People are talking about Vietnam. It also has some elements of Chinese kind of political system in it. But anyway, so we said made in India, Atmanirbhar, and we are come up with production linked incentive scheme. Production linked incentive scheme, PLI. So certain sectors have been marked for that. These are the sectors, 14 sectors. I have put some of the very important ones. Auto components, aviation, white goods. White goods means your refrigerator, ACs, etc. LED bulbs, white goods. Automobiles, chemicals, telecom, medical devices. So we are telling them all from rest of the world, come here and make it. So we want to become self-reliant. Atmanirbhar, we don't want to debate. So there is a debate on that. In the name of Atmanirbhar Bharat, is India again protecting its own domestic industry? Because during the days of control, we had what is known as protectionism as against free trade. Remember these two terms again. Protection, again you will come across in newspaper. Protectionism and free trade. Free trade is what? That moves from this country to that country and that country to this country will flow freely, in the sense not free in that sense, without any restrictions, without any high tariffs, without any quotas. That's powerful. But when you stop the foreign competition entering your country, you protect your domestic industry, your own brothers and sisters. You call it as protectionism, which is not good. Because I continue to protect how long? That today's article which I talked about, that is what? How long government, how much government help. Forever you will depend on that. So that is what will happen. So they say Atmanirbhar Bharat is promoting protectionism. That is a debate. In the name of making India okay, will become self-reliant. Okay. Is it wrong? Debate. But anyway, one of the very important flagship programs is PLI, Production Linked Incentive Scheme. Just go through that for a India is preferred FDI, foreign direct investment. FDI is different and FPI is different. Foreign portfolio investment. When foreigners invest in our shares and debentures, it's called FPI. Foreign portfolio investment, FPI. That is more volatile. That money can fly anytime. But FDI is more of permanent nature. A foreigner is directly setting up a business here. Foreign direct investment. So we always pray for more of FDI. That should know mind. This country is a place where we can do business. That's okay. If you see 3 decades back, you know, you got it. Coke was also banned in 77, 78. The Janata government said, oh, we don't want Coke. The then minister, George Fernandez, did not want Bata. Bata ko Tata correctly. That is how that socialism was deeply entrenched at that. Foreign investment coming over God. But 90s changed all that. 80s itself started. You know, in UK, in the early 80s, the then Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, which is called as Thatcher's miracle. She privatized railways. Railways also privatized. If you talk about privatization of railway in India, you will get a big slap. Okay, so there is privatized. Trying to book a ticket, you know, very quickly. Want to go very in 2 days. Will you get? Now you have touch cards, super touch cards, with their IDs. Firemen want easily able to. But should railways be prioritized something? India is involved. See, one thing, those countries are countries which are very small and two parties. That's why I'm saying the huge one and political parties are big lines. Parties within the party within the party. That's also sometimes both also sometimes spread. Okay, at 6 o'clock it is something, at 6:30 something else happens. Okay, so privatization will be a gold. So countries digitally empowered. This is the biggest achievement. The kind of digitization is happening. Okay, so that is a big thing. Okay. Maybe you never thought about this way. Forest street vendor also has this. You can't do any transaction without a single paisa in your pockets. All that you need is cell phone. But of course, we have that some mentality that some cash should always be there. At least I have it. Okay, so I will get uneasy if there is no cash flow. But then digital empowerment has taken us UPI and all. Social under very one big usual for which the present government is most strong at free gas connection. Free gas connection is subsidized with 3 fields. Now, this is the most talked about, guys, you all should know a lot about this. Climate change issues. In your meetings, that will happen. Tomorrow, when you are going to apply for your assignments, summer internship project, and later on in your second year for your placement drives. Okay, 2, 3 topics are really important. Artificial intelligence, so much is written on, reams of paper on artificial intelligence. Read a lot on artificial intelligence. I'm telling you, you should become very perfect. Have lots of points on that in your book. Artificial intelligence, moon or a day. Similarly, climate change is a big problem. This is okay, our climate is becoming hotter. Okay, so what is to do? Sea levels rising. Okay, ice melting. So we are graduating, we are moving. Fossil fuels, we don't want. We don't want coal, we don't want oil. We want to move to renewable energy. Power from sun, wind. And we want to electrify our transports. Electric vehicles. We want to all do that. That's why we, Indian government has a Panchamrit 5 goals. What is that? Non-fuel fossil fuel energy of 500 gigawatts by 2030. That is the first. Non-fossil fuel. So you are solar, wind, whatever. Agriculture, waste, 50% of energy requirement from renewable energy by 2030. That is the second. Reducing total projected carbon emissions by 1 billion tons. So, emissions we have from our transport. We want to reduce that. How? By electrifying. Reducing the carbon intensity by 45%, and most important, net zero emissions by 2070. Net zero emissions. But again, there is a debate problem. At least I strongly believe. Can we see a world without coal, without net zero? Coal account seems to not be there. Then you are saying on one hand, on the other hand, you are worried what will happen if coal is not there. So many people employed dependent on that in coal mines. So what will happen to them? So where will they go? So how can, on the other hand, coal capacity will increase. You will get the news. The new coal plant is coming. You only said net zero emissions and not coal plant. So can you visualize the world electrifying our transport? Electric vehicle. Battery replacement will also cause a move. Cost of electric vehicle. Sometime back there was blasting and all that of electric two-wheelers. So entire road full of electric vehicles. The more petrol. So I can't visualize that. But anyway, we have this with us. Okay. So we want that climate change. Big issue. Big issue. Every year there is a conference. COP, Conference of Parties. This is for discuss this issue. COP 26, COP 27. It is 2 years back that India set this target of net zero emissions by 2070. Sustainability. What is the meaning of sustainability? Sustain, that today's benefit should continue to be there. Sustainability forever, not that it gets better. Sustainable development. Okay, inside one, we take one. Some general sort of laws. But before that, what's the present scenario? RBI releases a report called Financial Stability Report. As the word itself suggests, stability. How stable is the Indian economy from some point? For that, the entire report is divided into 3 parts. I need not tell you the macroeconomic part and then our banking system. How is this functioning at all? So it said India has contributed to global growth at 18.5%. So pattern. Okay. So to the total India's GDP, we have contributed about 18.5%. India's real GDP rose by 8.2%. Real GDP, nominal GDP. Very quick. Okay, again in second trimester you will have that. Say my salary was 10,000 last month. Now it becomes 20,000. Double. So is it a time for me to give a party to all because it has doubled? Before giving a party to all, I have to think, with that extra 20,000, am I able to buy goods and services more than what I was able to? If not, salary doubled, but I am not able to buy more. Why did it happen? Price inflation. That's what. So nominal GDP minus inflation is real GDP. See, the GDP is increasing. Okay, fine. Yahan tak GDP was very good. GDP has increased. But I have to know how much that increase in GDP is because of actual production of goods and services. Suppose, okay, I will tell you. 2 units of some goods is produced. It costs 3 rupees per unit. So the GDP is 2 3s are 6. What did I say? One good costs 2 rupees per unit. You have produced 3 units of that. So your GDP is price per unit into number of goods produced, which is 2 3s are is equal to 6. But now the price increased from 2 rupees to 3. 3 3s are 9. My GDP has increased. But the number of units produced are same, 3 units. But GDP is showing a high figure. That is wrong. So I want to separate how much of GDP is due to rise in actual production of goods and services, and how much of GDP is due to rise in price. When I separate that, what I get is real GDP. Nominal GDP minus inflation is real GDP. So the real GDP rose by 8.2%. Very good, very nice picture. But prolonged geopolitical tensions, that Israel and Palestine never ends, Ukraine and Russia never ends. So it has an impact on the world economy, on the India's economy, and world economy also. Because it's a globalized world ultimately. We are all dependent. That's what we are not globalization. So we have to. Public debt is mounting global debt, even US debt. Public debt is a debt taken by the government. It's called as public debt. So you are seeing that global debt mounting. Deposit of scheduled commercial banks is a very good sign. Banking students, let me tell you, BFS students, you should study a lot. I always tell BFS diet, IB diet. So each of the program has some unique this thing in that, apart from the common subject. So BFS students should know more and more about banking sector. It is not that others should not know. IB students should know more about what is happening on our exports and imports front. International trade. Similarly, marketing students should know what is happening to the world of advertisements. How the marketing strategies are being devised. Like that, every program has. So, deposits of scheduled commercial banks increase. FDs, fixed deposit, is the strength of the banking system. If banking system is giving more credit, its deposits have ballooned. It shows your banking system has to be very strong. Okay, so the financial stability report said deposits of scheduled commercial banks has increased to 13%. Very good sign. But what is required is recovery in rural consumption. Rural consumption is not strong, especially two-wheelers. You know, small shampoo sachets revolutionized the rural consumption some years back, and it continues to be. FMCG sector, fast-moving goods sector, biscuit packet of 2 rupees. During COVID time, there was a drastic fall even in that biscuit packet of 2 rupees or 3 rupees. Rural economy badly. Rural economy always has, but now we know place papers are there. Rural economy is showing that it is bouncing back. This is good demand. That SD motorcycle, because in rural areas there are roads and all, so that that's the demand. Two-wheelers and these things such as biscuit, shampoo, and soaps, they are very much in demand. So FMCG sector and automobile sector. However, for a full recovery, companies are betting on good agriculture yield. Yes, that is always there since years. Higher government service or government welfare and muted inflation. So we expect that inflation will not bother us much. We expect that what is the ugly side of that? What more? For which the present government was criticized, and we are told the number of seats fell probably because of that also. Inequalities. We are still a poor country with a per capita income of $2,713. We rank 136 in the League of Nations. We are the poorest among the BRICS. This article by D. Subbaraw, former RBI governor. These articles are May 30, 2024. Okay, he mentioned that BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, suffer. A very important, what you say, organization, not organization, but so BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So, matter of worry. Inequalities and joblessness among the youth. That needs to be done. Low female participation rate. This is one thing which bothers us. Gender equality is an issue. Supply chain we improve. Logistics are here. Labor laws, this is a very big. India's labor laws are considered to be archaic, but still very outdated. Say labor laws, foreigners always felt there is no hire and fire immediately, not performing well work. That's all. Their trade unions being very strong, protecting their jobs. Labor laws becomes a big problem. But in the present government, coalition government, old reforms, no reforms are pending. Disinvestment of Shipping Corporation of India, Container Corporation of India. You know what is this investment? There is a public sector, and I already told you what is PSU, public sector undertaking. If a public sector undertaking, that means the government, uploads its stake, that means part of it traded as shares in the share market, just like of a private sector. You call it as disinvestment. Government will be reducing its control. Strategic sale is totally selling the PSU. So, Shipping Corporation of India, Container Corporation of India, one of the banks, nationalized banks, is likely to be privatized. Very good reforms. So, will it happen? No, in the present dispensation, which is a coalition. Will it be happening? Okay, so that is because the money from disinvestment is a good source of what is known as non-tax revenue. Revenue for the law. This books you should read. Your generation doesn't read. I keep on telling. You know, we have a book club also, workaholics. I did with so much of game, you don't take it from the daily. But then when the meetings, no one comes, nothing. So I said I will not run the book club. Okay, but you know, but at least you believe that, yeah, India alone, like Unchar and Dasu, that is around the theme. Yes, how you have so all this was nice to say, talking to my daughter, talking about it. Can you stop? Just daughter and mother's conversation, in which very simple terms of economics are explained by the father to the daughter. So, this is economics, this is deliberate. Everything I needed to know about economics, I learned from online dating. Even online dating teaches you economics. That's what it is. And this one, very computational is by Adam Smith. That is there in our thing, running into thousands of pages. That time in 1776 itself talked about free trade, which we are talking now. You have Adam Smith is the father of economics. You know, always your talk in school and so he wrote, he got in the famous invisible hand. That means there is something which makes a man to work. And that only leads to the prosperity of the economy. Something motivates you all to work. Invisible hand. So, wealth of nation is a very big book. Your generation will be read. Okay. You asked me whether I read it or not. I did not. Okay, right? 1500 pages. Okay, so right. But part of it I have read, of course. But one day I will take a book to finish this so that I can write it and the students that is what I do. Without communicating how we write it. Undercover economics, very good. You know, he explains decision. Decision, you heard about decision and economic. Through the economics of babysitting. How does babysitting explain decision? Well, these are all very interesting. By at least read that India now and keep reading newspapers. Now you know all this, right? Now you know GDP, monetary policy, fiscal policy, capitalism, socialism, etc. All this. So we will be then meeting and Prime Minister begins for economics for managers. Each of us faculty will be handling 2 sections. I will be handling the PGP IB International Business and Business Analytics section. So for BFS, some others will come. So like that, we divide our section. First trimester, second trimester. And we have an interesting subject, economics for managers. In that, you will learn practical applications in your inter and BCom, you learn only the theory part. Now, we learn the theory and how this theory can be applied in your real life situation as an manager. How that demand supply and all. So it will be very interesting. Any practical application questions we will need. Some case study also we will need. Okay. So thank you. I hope you did not get bored here. These serials can be made very interesting. In Tata would say, when that TV serial ran for 10 years, always looking, oh my God, what will happen to you? Okay, he's now a big figure in BJP. Okay, so they used to do lots of spice, masala, and all in the TV serial, and they will stop at an interesting place. Next day, but I also do watch TV serials. So hearing old songs. Show is my big pastime and news channels and some TV serials. We in Maharashtra I watch Marathi serials little more. So that is the thing. So all the best. Welcome to IB. So I will do a few minutes. Rachenomics, in that most of the macroeconomics concepts are explained. Very well identified. Rachenomics, RACE is like.
Yeah, if you have any quick questions from her, you can ask them.
You can also shoot the questions to my mail ID, rajesh@ipeindia.org. rajesh@ipeindia.org, or you can come by room 213.
Okay. And the hand raised over there. Yeah.
You come here. Is little bit echoes.
So good morning. Of late, we have been hearing about wealth redistribution. It has become a buzzword.
Wealth redistribution.
So, do you endorse this idea of wealth redistribution as a
I will
solution?
tell you, wealth redistribution is a continuous debate. It originated in Russia and China, communist country, where it failed. Wealth redistribution. Okay, so I do not know how. I'm not very much for to tell you frankly. How it can happen? How it can happen? Wealth redistribution. Okay, so that's a very difficult thing to achieve. Then there will be some problems in the economy. We have to think, okay, again, is it government tightly controlling it? Okay, so on that. So instead of wealth redistribution talking, let's one word what Adam Smith said, invisible hand. Okay, you motivate yourself to work. But really, wealth redistribution is not such.
It's succeeded in any country.
No, not at all. Russia and China very originated, it did not succeed.
Thank you, sir.
It's my opinion. You can develop your own ideas.
The others? We have time to take one more question.
Otherwise, if you are finished, right, I told you the mail ID and my response. Okay. Any time you.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you, Rajesh sir, for giving that comprehensive overview for Indian economy. And you have touched upon the different. Use with the jargon of economics, giving simple definitions and examples,
enjoyed that. Not only for the students, it was a good learning for me. Thank you. Quick announcement, all the students who didn't finish their notary thing, finish off that, and you will take a quick break of 15 minutes, and lesson will be out at 11:45 for another information.